Yes, hello. Good afternoon. This is Daniel Fitzgerald posting another video regarding my metal lathe. I'm going to keep this video short because I guess, I don't know, people don't have the time to listen to the long ones. Most machinists out there on YouTube would listen to my videos. Should have had thousands of views already, probably tens of thousands, which means that my videos, even on my metal lathe, are being suppressed by Canada. Okay? And Canada, you have no right to do that, Mr. Trudeau. Okay? I just want to update people on what's going on. I want to notify people that Amazon.com and .ca, not so much .ca as much as .com. I would say that Amazon.com of the United States has people in the U.S. Service centers who are customer service agents. Some of them take calls from U.S. citizens as well as Canadian citizens in the U.S. and some don't. So that's the first thing I wish to point out. One thing is for certain is that Amazon keeps changing the rules. Okay, when you catch Amazon, right, and like I'll give you a case in point, and then I'll post the video. First of all, originally I had requested a return label from Amazon for the metal lathe. Okay. Now, prior to buying this metal lathe from this ASC 365 International in Toronto, there was no indicator that if the unit had to be returned because it was defective, that I would have to pay for the shipping myself. I did not find that out until I received the shipping label. This is not indicated in the seller's ad. The ad is under Into Buying on Amazon.ca. And so it's very sneaky. Now I want to point out something else. When I was told I had to request a return label from Amazon.com in the United States by an American that handles Canada, Amazon. She told me that in the beginning, months ago, that it was just protocol. Like it was just like if you don't request one, your case won't go to A to Z. I told her that I felt uncomfortable about that. I told her that, I'm trying to get parts out of the seller to replace the defective parts on the lathe. And at that point, I did not know about the lathe headstock spindle. I didn't know because I hadn't pulled it and I hadn't used the lathe. I had only tested it a couple of times because, like most machinists, even in the worst case scenarios of lathes from China, usually the spindle and heads and chuck are usually pretty good. In some cases, it's the chuck. Usually, in most cases, it would be the chuck, not the spindle. The spindles are usually pretty much right on in all their metal lathes. So, let's see now. How do I explain this? So Amazon told me I had to get this return label, or else the A to Z investigation wouldn't happen. I told them I told them I felt uncomfortable because I was looking for warranty parts from the seller. The seller was asking me for photos, ASC 365. I sent them 2 photos for 2 defective parts, to which they canceled out sending me those or answering about those defective parts because Amazon forced me to get a return label. I didn't know that the seller would issue the return label and then cut me off from responding to the parts. All they did was respond by saying, return the unit. Okay. Then I found out that they sent me a return label, and then I found out that they wanted it returned by Canada Post. Okay. There was nothing below the label indicating I could take it to some other courier. Then I found out I had to pay for the return to Toronto, from Ottawa, Canada to Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And then I found out it costs between, well, first I found out it cost between $1,500 and $1,800. Then I made a more in-depth research. I researched it, and then I found out that I think it was Purolator and some other company. One company wanted 1,000 and something. Purolator wanted 600 and something, but that was long past the 30-day period to send it back. And Canada Post confirmed, I have to go back there again. The Canada post office here at the drugstore confirmed to me already that the postage that the seller had sent me was for Canada Post, okay? And there was nothing down below at that time about selecting another courier. Amazon removed the original, like the return label I got was around sometime in February, and then actually it would have been actually January 23rd that I had to request the return label, because that's when I sent the A to Z claim in, around January 23rd. They sent me the return label. There was nothing at the bottom of the return label about using another courier outside of Canada Post. There was nothing. Within a month after that, the return label disappeared out of my account, and also the under my orders, the lathe should pop up with a little picture with all the other things that I had bought. Well, Amazon pulled the lathe, and they pulled the return label, okay, before I could get a screenshot of the return label. Canada Post told me that the return label was for Canada Post, okay. I showed it to them. The Canada Post employee told me that it says CP in the box, and it looks like an envelope. That means Canada Post, okay. And it says postage required right in the box. So then I called Amazon and I complained and said, well, I said to customer service, I said, well, they're requesting I send it back to them by Canada Post. Canada Post recognizes the label. The employee at Canada Post has seen lots of return labels going back to Amazon, and they use this particular label when the seller requests you return the item by Canada Post, okay? So I called Amazon, I told them, you know. Also, the postal clerk also told me, she said, what are the dimensions of the item you wish to return? I said, well, it's 24 inches squared, which means 24-inch sides, bottom and top. And it's 4 feet long. And then she asked me how much it weighed. I said, 150 pounds. She said, well, Canada Post won't accept it. It's too big. We can't take it. So I called Amazon. I told them this, right? I told them that the return label was for Canada Post, that the seller had intentionally sent me a return label for Canada Post, okay? And the seller would have known that Canada Post would not accept that size of crate. They would have known that. And then I had to pay, I don't know, Canada Post, of course, couldn't even give me an estimate. So then, you know what this Amazon.com tells me? They tell me, oh no, that's for, you can use another courier. You don't have to use Canada Post. You can take it into any courier you want and send it back to them. And they tried to tell me that's what the label meant. Okay, but remember that Amazon stole the original label. They took it out of my account. It disappeared. So then I asked them to send me in around March, I believe it was. I wanted to, because I had checked with Canada Post, I was going to take action against Amazon. So I I asked them to send me the return label. They sent me the return label, the original one. Again, I looked it over under a magnifying glass, the whole return label and the barcode. There was nothing down below about you can take it by another courier or company that will return it. You don't have to use the postal system, And again, that wasn't on the first label. So then here's what happened. Then that label disappeared. And then I had to ask them for a third one. They sent it to me. And again, it said down below that you could send it by any courier company you want, I guess since I'm paying for it. But in the first one, the first label I had received from them, there was nothing down below that stated if I didn't want to send it by post, I could choose any courier I wanted. This was never indicated, okay? So Amazon was stealing the label and then adding stuff to it. The other thing I'd like to mention, when I decided to go after the seller, I needed to look into the reviews of their lathe on Amazon to get some information and about complaints against their machines. So when I first looked at complaints down below their ad at the very bottom, there was 2 complaints, and one of them reflected mine in that Amazon, or not Amazon, but the seller refused to respond to the buyer regarding warranty parts. Okay. Now I don't know if that was ever settled. Then what happened was, and there was another, actually, if memory serves me correct, actually there was 3 complaints, all complaints. And so then I didn't take screenshots that day. So then I went back into, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks later, or no, sorry, 2 or 3 days later, excuse me, and to take a screenshot with my iPhone of the complaints, and the complaints were gone. Amazon replaced the complaints against this seller with complaints from buyers, or not complaints, but from buyers who approved of the lathe. So they replaced them in a couple of days. That's what Amazon pulled. This is the kind of stuff that Amazon does, okay? And I found out the hard way. So then regarding my A to Z claim, one of the problems with the A to Z claim, when I filed with the A to Z department, they started sending me emails, and they were asking me questions, and I had to respond to them. But here's what happened. I only received a total of 2 emails from, or maybe 3, I'm not sure, from the A to Z department. One of them was they wanted a photo of the damage, and I responded to that and told them that, you know, photos are, when Amazon wants photos, what they're looking for is shipping damage, okay, where the box has been damaged to the point where the item inside has been damaged as well. That's what the photos are used for. But when an item has been manufactured and parts on it are defective, in some cases you have to send videos because you got to show the part is defective. And during this time period, I'd requested the seller send me a new circuit board because I turned the machine on and then it would just cut off and go out. It wouldn't work. It just simply stopped. So that happened. And there was no electricity going to the motor. It just, the whole machine just boom, okay? And I kept wishing when I started doing videos on it, please cut out in the video, right? Because it was doing it off and on. And then finally I got lucky and I got it into a video. The machine started cutting out. You could hear it. I had my hand on the speed dial to show them that I wasn't playing with the speed dial. So I had my hand on the dial and I had it pointed down at the dial, and you could hear the lathe cutting out, okay? Then Amazon sends me emails telling them for me to send them photos, and I told them the photos wouldn't work because the machine's defective and I need to send videos to show the machine cutting out. And then I found out that I ordered a compound slide for an AliExpress. I got it. The compound slide was warped. I laid it on my glass table, and end to end it was clicking, which means it was warped. So I got another one of those from AliExpress. I needed a new tailstock because this tailstock, as I said, is the foot plate's riding off the bed because they didn't mill it properly, and I know why they did that. So then there was the spindle. So when I got the compound slide, I figured I could wait and get the new tailstock. It was not critical at that time for me to use the tailstock, although I could use it, but if I put too much pressure on a drill bit or something, what would happen is no matter how tight I had it, the tailstock would start sliding backwards because it's not clamped to the bed enough. So I decided to make a part for my metal cutting saw. The bearing went on it. So I had to make a steel round bearing for it. It's just a sleeve, really. It's not a bearing, it's a sleeve. And it needs to be made out of steel tubing. And so I stuck some metal in my lathe, some 1018, to make a new bearing for my saw. And I noticed the tip of the piece moving up and down. I think I explained this before. And it wasn't sticking out far enough for it to wiggle up and down unless I put a lot of pressure on it with the compound slide. I didn't use the tailstock, you know. I didn't bother to hold it in place with the tailstock. I didn't need to. And I was moving up and down, so I tested it on my indicator, and it was out by, I don't know, 3 thou or more. And then I moved my dial indicator to the chuck, and the top of the chuck, and spun it, and it was out by, I don't know, 3 thou, 2800. So then I took the chuck off to check the boss on the spindle, and the spindle was out by 2800. But it was the spindle was egg-shaped, as well as the boss sticking out was not horizontal. The flat surface that the chuck goes over, it would come out from the face plate of the headstock spindle, and it would come out and go up like a little mount, and then the end, right? So it was milled incorrectly. Then I asked the company to send me a new spindle, okay? a replacement of the warranty. And in the interim, I took the spindle out because it had to come out anyway. It was no good. So I take the spindle out, and I find the spindle has wear marks on it where the bearings are. I didn't use the lathe, so the spindle should have looked brand new without any heat or distortion marks on the bearing surfaces. So, and there was other marks on it too, which indicated the lathe was used. And plus, as I said, the previous owner put blue grease in the bearings when it should have been lithium. That was not lithium that I know. Please, someone tell me I'm wrong. And that's when I found out that the unit had been used and was sent back. Which explains why the seller didn't want to send me a spindle to begin with, nor a new circuit board. So then Amazon wouldn't do anything. Amazon, the A to Z claim, I couldn't communicate with them. So I started calling Amazon's customer service agents because I wasn't getting any responses to my responses to the A to Z's email questions of me. And so I started calling them because there was some kind of interception or something. My communications were not reaching them, or they just weren't responding. So I started calling the agents at customer service and telling them, could you please, I'll dictate a message to you on the phone, and could you please, as best as you can, type it up and send it to the A to Z team? They said, sure. So there was about 10 or 15 messages that were sent to A to Z team, and it was pointed out to them by their own customer service agents in the communication to them on my behalf that there was a problem with receiving incoming emails from them and outgoing. The next thing I know after that, they sent me an email telling me that they're closing my claim and I have 30 days to appeal. And then they sent me one final one that I recall telling me, did you return the lathe yet? This is okay. So I did respond to those by email. They were not responding to the communications that by the customer service agents. They didn't leave messages with them for me, nothing. And they told me I had to appeal in 30 days. And did send them an email telling them, no, you can't do that. They made their decision that they weren't going to give me the refund. I wanted the refund and the lathe because I wanted to be compensated by the seller for them violating the warranty. And I have the warranty in the manuals, I've said before. So, okay, and I'm not covering everything, I'm just covering the most important parts of this whole process. So then I reached out to the seller on Monday this week. I called them on the telephone. I told them who I was, and they told me to contact their office in Scarborough in Midland. I did, and I gave them my phone number. They texted me. They asked me to send photos of the damaged parts. Let me read to you. I can't read to you exactly what they said, but they asked me to send photos of the damaged parts, of the parts not working, and that they would send it to their sales office, and they would send it to the manufacturer. And then basically the item is that they stated that they would send me the parts. Okay, that's what they said. So from Monday to Thursday, I never heard from them. I sent them a couple of text messages asking them if they've talked to the manufacturer yet. Then I called them. I called them yesterday on Thursday, and then I didn't get the response I was looking for. They told me it's going to take a while longer. I said, well, how long? Like a week, or when will you find out? Well, he didn't know. So I tried to call their other office this morning, and I spoke to this fellow named David at their office in Toronto, and I was quite shocked actually, because I said to him, well, look, what's going on with the parts, right? So then he says to me, well, you have to talk to Amazon. So they started that routine again. And so then he hung up on me. So anyways, I found another avenue. I have contacted an organization. And I briefly explained to this organization on the phone that what has happened, and they told me to file a complaint with them. The complaint will be forwarded to their offices in the United States on behalf of Amazon.ca. The lady did tell me that based on what I told her that there'll be a remedy. They want the address of Amazon.com Seattle office in Washington, out west, and they want details of what had happened. So I'm going to do that. I was going to do it today, but I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do it. They have a website, and they told me that they will probably be able to get me a remedy on this, because my lathe is sitting on the bench. I can't use it. It costs me $1,700, and I can't use it. I tried for parts all along. I didn't know it was used until I took the spindle out. Saw that the spindle was not new. It had burnishing, burning, heat marks on it. I just simply didn't know. And so I'm a victim of all this. So basically, all along, what has happened with Amazon and the seller is, the seller, every time I try to get parts out of the seller doesn't say anything, or they say they're going to get me parts, and then they change their minds. They send me back to Amazon, and I call Amazon, and Amazon says, well, we have nothing to do with the warranty. Okay, well, listen, folks. We're talking about a $1,700 piece of equipment, okay? Nobody in their right mind is going to buy a $1,700 metal cutting lathe, and it says precision metal cutting lathe, without some kind of warranty on the parts, because it's from China. No one that I know would do it. Amazon refused to back up the warranty. Amazon refused to force the seller to live up to the warranty and send me the parts. That's the bottom line. And then there's 2 parts that Amazon did replace. The seller wouldn't cooperate, so Amazon stuck $450 into my account, and I got one of the parts, but it was very expensive, so I couldn't get the second one. I didn't have enough money. And then the circuit board was a continuous problem, the machine cutting off, and now the spindle. So it's just really is a nightmare. All Amazon had to do was threaten the seller, and apparently they said the seller was still offering the warranty on their ad. Well, and then one of the Amazon customer service agents checked. Actually, there was not one, there was 2 or 3 of them. I called and say, well, look, check their ad. It says there's a 6-month warranty on parts, right, and an endless warranty on service. So they checked, and 3 Amazon officials checked it and agreed with me. The final one I spoke with Amazon.com told me she checked and said, yeah, and then she says to me, you better get a screenshot because the seller will take the fact that it's warranted out of the ad. I checked the ad today. I cannot find any warranty indicated by the seller in the ad, except that they had stated they offer excellent support. Oh, really? What support is that? At least up to now. Now, here's the thing. I have the manual for the lathe that came with the lathe inside the box. There is a warranty on parts on the lathe, defective parts, but you have to go to some company named Chester in England, okay? And I tried to email them. My email was sent back to me. It's blocked because their server said my email was spam or suspicious activity. I sent it a second time and I didn't get a return block. But again, I never got a response from Chester in the UK. They do have an overseas number. I mean, I could make the call, I guess. Maybe I will. And discuss it with them. And just why the seller's manual with this lathe, it would seem to me that the lathe is marketed for the UK. Why is a lathe that's coming from a company in the UK, why would that company in the UK warrant this lathe? Why would they give a warranty to this lathe? Why? I mean, I really don't understand this. But anyway, so I've got an organization. All my videos are on YouTube. I got an organization. I'm going to file a complaint. They told me to file a complaint not against the seller, but against Amazon. I don't know why they told me that, but that's what they told me to do. And my complaint will go to their organization in the United States, and then they will turn around and they will investigate this with Amazon. I am clearly screwed here. It's real nice Amazon to give me $450 for the first 2 parts. They cannot seem to fathom that when it comes to buying a piece of equipment like this is why a warranty is mandatory. This lathe is lemon, okay? The spindle was not machined properly. The tailstock was not machined properly. The compound slide was warped, as I said, and also had a warped bolt in it to hold on the tool thing. And you know, it's just been consistent. So I will be doing that. You know, Amazon. The problem is Amazon refuses to act on the warranty, but the warranty comes as part of the sale. Okay, which means that Amazon. My belief is Amazon has a right to legally force the seller to supply the parts. Okay, Amazon is carrying the ad for them. The manual says there's a warranty. Okay, Amazon says, well, you have to talk to the seller and the manufacturer. Well, I asked the seller on the phone a couple times to give me the email address of the manufacturer in China. They're refusing to do so. Why is that? Why is the seller refusing to give me the email address of the manufacturer in China? Why? right? I've asked for people to support me here. I've asked them to contact ASC 365 International in Toronto and Scarborough on Midland on my behalf and ask them and say, why are you doing this to this guy? What's the problem? I think that's about it. So I better go. Thank you. Keep everybody updated. I should really start getting thousands of views, shouldn't I, Mr. Trudeau? Right? It's time to broaden my horizons, YouTube. I don't appreciate YouTube, you allowing the Canadian government to restrict my content from being seen in the United States by tens of thousands of machinists around the globe, YouTube. I really don't appreciate this. All right? And I would like that corrected, please. Thank you. God bless and have a safe weekend.